Julian Assange's plane is approaching the nation's capital, where in less than an hour he will set foot on Australian soil for the first time in nearly 2 decades. His 14-year nightmare finally coming to an end.
How does it feel to be a free man, Mr. Assange? Anything about the body of Gilgamesh?
Julian Assange walking from court triumphant.
Finally, after 14 years of legal battles, Julian Assange can go home a free man.
Once facing up to 175 years in US prison on 17 counts of espionage over classified Iraq and Afghan war documents, today Assange pleaded guilty to just one charge.
He pleaded guilty to an offence for having published information in the public interest, for which he's won journalism awards the world over.
In the US territory of Saipan, Judge Ramona Manglona sentenced him to time served, saying Assange's 5 years in the UK's notorious Belmarsh prison, plus the absence of any victims resulting from his crime, led her to accept the plea deal.
It appears this case ends with me here in Saipan.
The prosecution of Julian Assange is unprecedented in the 100 years of the Espionage Act.
In the US, the reaction has been mixed.
Julian Assange is a national hero. I am elated that he is free, but I'm crushed that the feds got their pound of flesh with this meaningless sham guilty plea.
The Biden administration's plea deal with Assange is a miscarriage of justice.
Back home, elation from supporters.
It's such wonderful news. I'm ecstatic. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. He's just shone light into darkness.
And from politicians of all stripes who spent years fighting for Assange's freedom.
He wasn't a citizen of the United States, and no matter what you think, he broke no law in Australia.
We should be very clear about this. Julian Assange was a political prisoner, and his freedom took a political solution.
Assange's team praising the PM for his role in the WikiLeaks founders' release.
As Prime Minister, he stood true to his word. He raised it at the highest level, at every opportunity.
This is what standing up for Australians around the world looks like.
Tonight, Assange will land on Australian soil for the first time in around 16 years, finally able to begin the rest of his life.
Well, I hope he just rests and recovers. I hope, Julian, that he can live a quiet life now with his children and family.
I hope he does ordinary things. And I hope he takes the kids for a walk along the beach in winter and watch the wattle bloom in the end of July.
And Julian's wife Stella is here to tell us more. Stella, just how did you feel when the decision came through?
I started crying happy tears. It was a moment of release. I couldn't quite believe it. And I was also sad that I wasn't there.
I understand you got to speak to Julian briefly while he was on the plane. What did he have to say?
That he missed me and he couldn't wait to see me later tonight. And all the things that we're going to do over the next few days, weeks. He wants to go swimming in the ocean every day, and he wants to teach our children how to catch crabs.
Wow.
So I think he wants to go to the beach.
Well, with any luck, someone will hand him a fishing rod. It'll be great. This is an extraordinary situation because when you first met Julian, he was under house arrest. So you've got this relationship, you've got kids, you're married, but you have never, ever known him as a free man. Like, your whole relationship has been one where he is in captivity. I don't know anybody else like this. It's a wild situation. How does it feel knowing that it's all about to change?
I don't quite know. It's been so normalized that we've always had some kind of restriction on his movements, on what he can do, on what time he. Initially, when he was under house arrest, he had to be in the house that he was at under house arrest at certain times. He had to report to police every day. Then in the embassy, which is where we got together, he was obviously confined 24 hours a day. But there was relative freedom within those walls. But then in Belmarsh, it became extremely restricted, where we weren't able to speak to each other for more than 10 minutes at a time when he called me. He could only call me during certain times of day. These kinds of restrictions, they really become internalized. So I think it will be quite a process. And I've spoken to people who have been confined and their family members and so on, and they all say the same thing. you need space, you need time, you need to process things. Someone yesterday said, freedom comes slowly.
Stella, you have children with Julian. How are the kids? Can they even comprehend what it's like to have a dad who's home with them?
Well, I've been planting the seed of Julian coming home from the very beginning. I've been talking about the many things that we'll do when he comes home, that we'll go to Australia together. When we go to Australia, it will be when Daddy is there, and the many, many places he wants to show them and things that we'll do. So they've been, it's been building towards this moment, and I did that very deliberately because I wanted them to know that that's the expectation, that that's what's normal, that's how our family is together, and that the prison was an exception.
You've said that now you want to push for a pardon. After so many years of fighting and finally this has turned out the way that it has, were you tempted just to say, that's fine, that's enough, and just leave it?
Well, I think a pardon is important. I mean, it's maybe premature to, on the same day as the agreement has been reached, to start talking about a pardon. But the issue is that the conviction under the Espionage Act has criminalized standard journalistic activity, and it has now set a precedent that will be able to be used in the future against other members of the press. So it's important that this precedent not stand, and that eventually Julian receive a pardon.
I don't think we can comprehend just how meaningful this evening is going to be for you and Julian. What's the first thing you do and say when you see him?
I love you, and I can't believe we're here. You know, it's been a long, hard road to get here, and part of me is just watching on, and I think it will take days, if not weeks, for it to really sink in.
Stella, we wish you well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It just wouldn't feel real, would it? And Julian Assange is raising money now to reimburse the government for his flight back to Australia. You can visit our website for details on how to donate.